Hello, welcome to chapter 5. And so, after we've checked checks, captures, threats, and what's our opponent's next move, right? These 4 first chapters were more about trying, about looking for options, about what about this move, what about this one, what about another one, yeah? Now, in this chapter is about patterns. What do I mean by that? This is more about gathering knowledge that is already established, yeah? And how is it useful, yeah? So patterns, there are thousands of patterns, I would say. There are some established patterns that are 30, 50, kinda-ish, I don't know, depending who you're asking. But the better you get, the more patterns you will realize you have, and the more subtle they will get, yeah? So let's start with this position. I mean, black has a piece up, but okay, we have 2 pawns in exchange. And okay, this knight is somewhat strange, but the rook defends very well. Defends this check and defends the mate. Yeah, we have this kind of battery. Yeah, so this would be the first pattern, like attacking pattern, having the queen just ahead of the bishop, so they slice through the diagonal. And now we also have the knight defending here, the key square g7. So the first instinct here would be like, okay, let's try checks, right? It would be like rook e8. Yeah, we capture the defender, but now black would take, yeah, and suddenly we realize that, oh, okay, now we are rook down, but we cannot do the mate because suddenly the queen defends, yeah. So what I want to say first about patterns is that patterns are contextual as well. They depend on the situation, yeah. So basically the patterns are a tool to see like, okay, I'm doing mate, I want to eliminate the defender, which is a attacking pattern, so let's try it. Let's give it this more attention, right? But here, yeah, we do this one, and then what other move would you consider? It's a very interesting also position to think, yeah? I mean, if you learned pretty well the chapter we were talking before, you would have already seen the solution, yeah? But it's not easy to see it because we are creating a pattern, which is doing the check here. We tried this check, it doesn't work, now takes. Now maybe we have another check, but we take, and okay. Now we realize that we don't have more pieces in the bank, and we resign. So basically, but this check, suddenly, we would be like, no, I'm losing the queen, and we will stop there. But the point about patterns is that we don't know if we were winning or not. We need to try. Yeah, it's a similar thing about trying, but the patterns get more and more complex. So after doing the check with the knight, the king goes here, and basically we realize here that the king has no square, and suddenly we do another check through the other flank. Because we were so focused that the queen and the bishop were coordinating to something, were achieving something great, we wouldn't realize that sacrificing the queen was part of the success. So here black can try to block it in different squares, but all of them we realize that only one piece is defending, so we will be taking all the way. Like for instance, rook c5, we take it, and queen e7, we take it, and this is checkmate. So, and this puzzle has another layer, right? Because if you are disciplined, in general, you will find a solution. Yeah, very straightforward. You do the captures, you do the checks, it will come out. If you know the pattern, maybe you skip some checks because you already know that this is winning, right? But then you also have a different approach, right? Like the prophylactic approach. So here we realize that the knight wants to go to f6, right? But the problem once we take here is that the queen is annoying. Yeah, well, why is this queen here? So here you realize that you have an extra option, which is asking, okay, what if I just move the queen away? What happens? Yeah. And after queen d4, basically we're freeing a square for a piece. Yeah, this would be another attacking pattern. And now black is completely defenseless. Yeah, I mean, black pieces are not really in the great shape, right? Like this knight cannot move, this bishop is basically defending the knight, this pawn, and the rook basically is also stuck here, defending this knight, and the queen doesn't have really any impact on the game. Yeah, it's completely disjointed from the other pieces. And here now we would be threatening to take, now do the check, then maybe take the rook, and then maybe take the knight. Like we ate everything here. So queen d4 is a really cool move, and this theme of leaving a square for a piece, basically you have it in 2 different ways. In this case, the more direct one, and now the more subtle one. Yeah. So again, I insist of when you learn patterns, you will see all the list of the stuff, like okay, you have deviation, you have pins, you have discover check, you have captures. I mean, there are so many. So try to apply them all. What if in this position I try to do this? Does it work? Can we just wait? This kind of pattern worked in that position. Maybe it works here too. And this added knowledge always helps. Let's check another position here, and we'll have this one. And here, again, I insist, pause and think for yourself, and try to list the patterns you see here. Try to feel like what is going on here. And I'll try to tell you what I feel here is going on and what are the patterns I see immediately after seeing the position. Yeah, because also the more practice you have, the more investment you do in doing puzzles, in playing a lot of blitz games, rapid games, long classical games. I mean, at the beginning, don't think too much, just play. Just don't think too much, don't optimize. Oh no, but if I play too much bullet, my increase on strength will be lower by 1% in 5 days. No, come on, just try. But also be realistic and thoughtful. Like, okay, if you are losing every game, if you are not learning, if you are only winning for time, like you realize how you're winning, then maybe, okay, it's good that I win on time, I'm good with the mouse, but maybe, just some kind of honest self-critique is always good in order to improve. So maybe in another course we'll talk about that. So here, okay, you have the patterns. The patterns here, for me at least, would be the first thing that strikes to my mind, that the queen is completely misplaced. The queen is completely out of the king. And before counting in the patterns, yeah, but this is the first thing that struck to me. And I actually forgot the one more relevant thing that people would say. Hey, black has so much material advantage. Like 2 pawns and a rook. Yeah, but I instinctively, I mean, as you're at the beginning, you need to take care of the material. Yeah. But what I'm going to say is that you will have options to attack the king. You will have so many ways to come back. Yeah. And here, that's why it's very important to realize that so many patterns are in stake here. So the first and most important is that the material that our opponent has is up, like in this case, the 2 pawns and the rook, and even the queen, are just completely so far away from the king. And all our pieces are somewhat close to the king. Yeah? And here, there is a pattern that basically wins directly for white, but is not that easy to see if you never tried. But if we do diligently what we do in the first 4 chapters, it comes much easier. First move we need to consider a check. Yeah, we have 3 checks here. We have this one and this one, but those 2 are sacrificing, and also, I mean, if I sacrifice the queen, it's much harder now. I don't know. Then I don't have more checks. So maybe I start with this one. I start with the simplest one. Yeah, let's not try to get fancy. Let's try to get discipline. I mean, black is forced to go to the corner. Yeah, and we realize the king doesn't have an exit here, right? And now, the thing is, if you try to learn and to think, okay, what can I do here? You would realize that there is some kind of problem here, yeah. But this is a difficult pattern if you never see it, yeah. And the point is that now we need to see checks, yeah. So we would try to do this check. We try it, and now after black takes, we don't have no more checks. Now we have captures. We try it. We take here, and we realize, wait, we are threatening mate, and we are threatening the queen. That's great. We found an idea. We found a pattern, right? But the problem is that after we take, I mean, black has so much material that black can just prevent the mate, like moving the king, bringing the knight, moving the pawn, even defending with the queen, like so many ways. Like I can be very creative about that. So what if we do the most, we think back and we're like, okay, what can we do now? We can do is change the move order. Yeah. In patterns, we realize that a very key component of calculation is changing the way we do the moves. Yeah, and this will give you a lot of success. Yeah, I'd say like we can keep adding things to the algorithm, like checks, captures, threats. What's your opponent's next move? Change your move order. Some people, I think Ramesh was adding pawn breaks. I mean, that things you need to consider every position. Yeah. So in this case, we start with this one. We don't think. we start with this one, like we tried. And we realize that now, okay, now we have many things that are more positive. We threaten the queen, so the queen needs to move or take, but if the queen moves or the queen takes, now we have this capture. And the only way to defend it, which is to cover this square, is covered by our knight. So queen c8 will be able to take, and we will have material out. And also, more importantly, we are actually threatening the queen. So, for instance, if our rook was on a1, we would not be threatening the queen because the rook would be hanging, and there would be some kind of background mate. Yeah? Again, we can get deeper all the time. Yeah? And here, a very interesting approach to this position would be like, okay, we have this position that is very interesting, and now we're gonna think, what if black has a pawn here instead of having a pawn on b7, right? We go to this setup, and then we think about it, like what's going on now? Now, if we do the check, we realize that, okay, if we take the pawn, now black doesn't necessarily need to take the bishop. And now h6 or g6 or f5, somewhat defending would be winning. Yeah. But here, white has a pattern that is very abstract and very difficult to conceive, which is that all our pieces are attacking, and black only has some small defenders. There is a video that I really always enjoy and I always recommend to everyone. It's about Karpov. It's about Kasparov playing against Karpov, and there is a video that is Kasparov explaining a really, really nice attack in some games, but it's more a conceptual attack. Yeah, and he has more pieces than his opponent, and he's like, okay, I need to sacrifice because I have more pieces. The king is defenseless, so let's go into that direction. Yeah, and here as example, like if black tries to, now we are threatening queen h7, and suddenly black has this move. But now we have queen h3, and we are threatening this pawn. We are threatening queen h7 again. And now if black tries to move the pawn, suddenly we have an extra option that this is made because there is a pin. So we have another pattern. Yeah. And suddenly we realize that, wait, but then how do you really defend this? The only way is putting the rook in the middle, and then white just takes, and now queen h6 just wins. Yeah. The point of queen h6 is that we threaten mate in one. We keep going with the patterns. And the very most relevant threat is the mate. And now if black tries to defend, we win the queen. Yeah. So this is a hard puzzle. Yeah. If you are here, if you are new, you will be like, whoa, this escalated very quickly. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. I would encourage you to, for instance, play this position and try to solve what happens if black does the other moves. Yeah. And here the patterns you're gonna get is that destruction of the king. Like basically, no matter what, we go all in and we try to break through. So for instance, h6 is an option, but now you see that there is this pattern of queen h3. I mean, you can solve it on your own. Let's go for something else. We have this one. Backrank mates are the most common mating pattern, I would say, that have so many different themes. I mean, I lost the queen once. I remember in an international tournament, first round, playing against a 400 rated less than me, and I dropped the queen in move 15. Because my rook, let's say my rook was defending the queen, and suddenly the queens were kind of against each other, yeah, defended. And suddenly he deviated my rook doing a background check, and then my queen was defenseless. And I still won that game, but basically I won some games like this in some Spanish championships and nationals. So background mate, this has a lot of themes. So in this case, the queen is under attack, but we have a pattern that, wait, it's not really under attack. Yeah. And for instance, now rook fd1 is super strong, and basically we are turning the tables. Now we are like, okay, but we are threatening mate. The queen is not a problem, right? And if black tries to move the rook away, we just keep insisting, and now we have a different kind of pattern, right? Now we are getting another background mate. And if black tries to defend here, we keep trying, forcing moves. We can exchange, but if we exchange everything, it's not that easy to win. But here we have a very interesting move that if you feel free to pause, feel free to think a bit about it, and because it's always, I always find fascinating to find moves. And the more moves you realize you find on your own, the better and the easier you improve, because you are more, it demonstrates that you are more open to look for ideas. Yeah. So here the point is queen f7 check. And the thing is, now we do the same back rank theme, but the difference is that, okay, it's not mate, but black will need to cover up with the queen, so we will be winning the queen back, and we'll have in 2 pawns. And this is winning endgame. Yeah? So again, we have so many different patterns, and I want to finish with a position that you're already familiar with, that we covered before. And in this puzzle, I'm going to try to put numbers, I put names on all the patterns that happened through all this calculation. Yeah. First of all, I'm going to tell you a thing. If you didn't feel anything strange in the previous video about this game, it's because maybe you took my word for granted. You say, okay, this guy is a grandmaster, he must be right. But I had a mistake, yeah, and it was somewhat in purpose, because the point I want to take is that always try to confirm what you hear, the opinion, by forcing, by calculation, by, okay, does it really work? Does it get this habit of take your own opinion into the matter? Doesn't matter if it's a grandmaster, doesn't matter if it's a padzer, I don't care if it's a beginner. No, we don't say padzer here. Why? Because if you pay respect to who's the player, then you have greater chance to lose. Like you will be like, oh no, he played that move. It must be good for something. But I do mistakes. 2700 does mistakes. I mean, everyone does mistakes. So please, be forced. So the point is that in my after king h2, g5 is a threat. The move was bishop d2. We will see the difference later on. I mean, the thing is, the end did not change, but it's a very similar approach. And but there is a subtle difference that changes everything. So if you didn't notice, you have time to rewatch it and check, okay, where did I go wrong? So here we start with bishop h3. So this is a deflection, because it deflects this bishop through this square. And basically also square clearance. Basically black wants to threaten this, so it also threatens the square. And also it's a sacrifice. Okay? So now we take, this is just a capture. And now black does a check. In this case it's a fork, because it's threatening 2 pieces. It's somewhat a triple fork. Usually the fork is related, if you say triple fork, is related to threatening 3 pieces that have higher value than knight, but okay, it's still triple fork. Yeah, there are royal fork. I mean, doing some research, I realized that there are so many themes that I would never, I mean, there are, well, humans have some kind of condition to bring names to everything, right? So, okay, don't be worried, fork is good enough, yeah? And also there is this word which is intermezzo, it comes from Italian, it's an intermediate move. And also it's the, okay, I will pronounce it definitely horrible, it's the Schützensack. I'm not sure what's going on here, because it's from German. We have Zeitnot, which is time travel. We have Zugzwang, which is a position that the fact that you are playing makes your position worse. Yeah. And we have also this Rittenzug, which is an intermediate move, because now white was threatening the queen, but black is not saying, okay, we're threatening the queen, I move it. No, I have this intermezzo. So now this is another double check. And now g4, this is a trapped piece. Yeah, this is a concept that it's difficult to guess if you don't try here that you will trap this bishop in 5 moves. Again, I'm gonna keep reiterating this. Like, it's impossible. We are not magicians. We just brute force everything. Yeah. So bishop g4, which it's an exchange sacrifice, because now black has 2 rooks for 1 rook. Also, vulnerable king for black and a bit for white, but I'd say more for black because the pieces for white are coming easily. And now queen g4. And also it's a semi-open file, but okay, that's a bit of a deeper concept. I mean, we can name everything if you want. Now knight d5, we're threatening a double threat here, but also the bishop on g7 is overloaded. I'd say the bishop, it's another concept, is defending this pawn. It's basically the only defender that is not a queen. Sometimes the queen is not a great defender because it gets in the middle, you can catch the queen off. And basically the bishop is defending the only pawn that stands a bit of ground, and also this triple check. So we go for the game, my opponent played c7, and the point is that if you compare it, there's a mistake, if you compare it, the bishop is on e3. So if the bishop was on e3 after knight d5, black could have taken here, exchange the queens and get an exchange up and go win the game. Yeah. So there's a key difference. So yeah, don't pay too much attention to grandmasters. So now we do the fork. My opponent thought that, okay, it doesn't matter, I give back the material because knight was much stronger than knight. That's a concept that is a bit abstract because the position was somehow close for the rooks. Like this rook on a8 is not doing anything, but my knight is super strong, it's threatening everything. So in this case, the relative value changes. Yeah. So after h5, black wants to achieve some kind of pawn break and demolition of the castle. That's another two topics. Yeah? Pawn breaks are always important to check. Like realize like what's happening. If black achieves this pawn break, for instance, the rook will be active, and suddenly the exchange up will mean much more. Yeah? And here I play queen d3. I mean, I don't need to take the rook yet. I mean, I wait for one rook to move, then I take, and then I force the rook to move again. Yeah. So, and this move is a decoy because I'm like, okay, I see that my opponent is playing h4. I'm like, okay, let's allow our opponent to do it. So now black does that, and I play rook h1, which is a bait. What do I mean by a bait? We enhance our opponent, that's why it's a decoy before, to take the pawn, to weaken our castle, yeah? And we remove a defender from the king, because black is attacking, but also is weakening the position, yeah? Depending on how you look at it. So, and after take, we play f3, and here we have a very cool concept, which is the friendly pawn. It's a pawn that basically blocks a defense for you. And black would wish that this pawn was not existing, because this king would be weaker. So after queen d7, the queen goes back to attack the knight. Now we need to take the rook. Now we take this one. Here, for instance, is a concept that we slightly touched before, but is the far away piece. What do I mean by that? After taking on e8, we kind of push the rook away, and suddenly we have three pieces pointing to the king. And again, you see the pattern again of, okay, the queen is far away, the rook is far away, and now we play the key move. If you want to stop here and think for your own, what would you play here? Yeah. So the move is e5. And this is a discovered threat. Basically, we're opening the file for the queen and the rook to interact. And also it's so-called clearance. And also I would say, again, accumulation of pieces. Yeah. And here, after king f8, my opponent tried to run away. I don't play queen h7 necessarily. I play bishop h6. Why? Because I'm removing the last defender. And this position is completely winning. This could be also a good exercise for you to see, like, okay, why is it really winning? I'm pretty sure at this point, now that you have all my energy, and you've seen until this point, you would be able to solve it. Trust me. I mean, you need to know material imbalance. Like, for instance, if you get the rook up is enough. If you get winning endgame, there is some other objective knowledge that you might be lacking. Yeah. But this is completely winning, yeah? But a really fun note that I want to finish here is that if black were to take here, I mean, it looks scary, but okay, the king is running away. We do a check. We do here. And now, basically, we do another check. We bring more pieces to the action. Black moves up. And now we bring more pieces to the action. Yeah? We stop the king from running away, in this case. Yeah? And the bishop is a bit more threatening now. And black could go up, but it also loses. But I really enjoyed this one, which is king f8. And now we do this check. Yeah? And suddenly, if the king goes back, we have a brilliant queen sacrifice. It's another matter. It's another pattern. And if the king goes here, then it's much easier to see that, okay, we are mating. Yeah, we have this kind of battery. Yeah. But if the bishop goes back, would be like, okay, now when we need to move the queen, this is not really mate because the king would be getting out through the square of the bishop. But here you have the beautiful bishop f6. And here again, I want to insist, this is another pattern. This is a bishop and rook, it is a thematic mate, and this is a background mate. It's a different version. If you think about it, this is the same as the background mate, but we are covering both exits. Yeah. So yeah, this I saw it everything. This game I was playing so good, and it was so beautiful. Man, when I saw this, what thinking was like, wow, what a pattern! I never did this pattern in training. I just found. So learn your patterns, but also try to look for them.